What's up, family? It's your girl, Dr. Shonna. We're going to have a really good conversation today. So let me just go ahead and give everybody some time to come in. It is Saturday night. I'm glad you guys are here with me. I don't expect a lot of people to join us tonight, but that is okay. Whenever people are ready, if they're not watching Spider-Man 2 in the movie theater, like I was trying to do, but it's all sold out. But if they're not watching Spider-Man 2, they can always catch this video on replay. But for all my sisters and brothers in the audience who are live, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining me on a Saturday night. Go ahead, get your pens, get your papers. We are in class. We're going to break down some things, but I have some disclaimers. Tonight, by the way, right? So I want you guys to know this. Go ahead and share the video. Smash that like button. If you're already not a member of this channel, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Show me some love. Let me know that you support the channel and you are interested in the things that I talk about. Because I know I'm a little different, right? I'm not like everyone else. And I'm not here to gossip, entertain you guys, or to get you guys angry just to be freaking angry. That is not what I'm here to do. I want to have a conversation about Chicago. So if there's any people in the audience from Chicago, do know that I love you and I'm looking for you to help me with some of the answers, because I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the understanding of Chicago, and I don't want to pretend like I do. I want you to know that today and yesterday, I spent countless hours watching documentaries, reading articles, learning about different policies and laws that were put into place in Chicago, and I started to track the history of Chicago. And I'm not finished. I want you ladies and gentlemen to know that I'm not finished. But I figured I would come on and talk about Chicago because I think we need to know what's going on in all of our cities that impact us and affect us. Nonetheless, Chicago is quite interesting. So I decided to share with you guys about Chicago because I was like, well, damn, Chicago ain't never going to change. Now, I know y'all don't want to hear that, especially those people that are from Chicago. You don't want to hear that your city's not going to change. I get it. But crime and poverty is political, whether you like it or not. Crime and poverty is political. And I know we have this benign hope, right? We like to know that things are going to get better. We like to hope and pray that things are going to get better. And we keep making the decisions that keep us in the same situation no matter what. So I decided to highlight Chicago, and then I'm going to go into other cities too. And I'm going to break down other cities too politically. Because you know what? Let me say this before we get started, because I know y'all want to get started. And I want to get started too. But let me say this. I'm not trying to teach you guys how to be a little bit more political. I'm not trying to do that. We have some great teachers out there. In fact, I think that Yvette is a great teacher when it comes to politics. I think that if you're not following Breaking Brown with Yvette, if you're not following her and listening to what she's saying, it's not about whether you like somebody or you dislike somebody. It's about getting information so that you can inform your decisions, right? And just hearing it from multiple perspectives and then formulating your own thoughts. That's what it really is about. That's what this process in social sciences is about. It's about listening to other people and then formulating your own thoughts. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with Tone Talks. You don't have to agree with Breaking Brown. You don't have to agree with Tariq Nasheed. You don't have to agree with Michi X. You don't have to agree with Dr. Umar. You don't have to agree with Boyce Watkins. You don't have to agree with Vicky. You don't have to agree with Dr. Shonna. You don't have to agree with any of us. That's fucking okay. But what you do have to do is listen. See through personalities, see through deliveries, and listen to what is being said, and then formulate your own thoughts. Somebody's saying Mr. X. No, I didn't say Mr. X. I said Michi X. All right, so let's talk about Chicago. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and share the video. I am going to try to keep it PG-13. Don't start none, won't be none. Don't play with me, and I won't play with you. Don't come for me, and I won't bust your ass. It's as simple as that. All right? I'm being nice now, right, y'all? My videos have been tainted on YouTube. My views have gone down on YouTube. I'm being nicer for as long as I can until I don't want to anymore. So let's talk about this. So we know Chicago, the beautiful city of Chicago, has a long history of poverty. I know a lot of people like to lead with the crime when it comes to Chicago. And yes, there is a lot of crime in Chicago, but the leading point is really not about the crime, right? It's really about the poverty and the subtle messages that we are getting every single day that lets us know what we can and cannot do, what power we have and what power we do not have, where there's going to be change and where there isn't going to be change, and who the change is going to benefit. I'm just trying to say. So before I got started with understanding where the crime and the poverty, when it comes to Chicago, where it is right now, and when I start to look at Mayor Lightfoot, and trust me, I haven't even gotten to that part of the research, so we're not going to talk about Mayor Lightfoot today, and we're not going to talk about Mayor Washington. May he rest in peace. We're not going to talk about him today. I might touch on some stuff, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to just start with the history. Maybe I'll do a part 2. Maybe I'll come back and break down Lightfoot and Mayor Washington, and this is not about bashing nobody. But I need you guys to really understand the history. For those of you guys who do not understand the history or know the history of Chicago, so you can understand where we are at right now today in Chicago. I also want to say this. Let today's class, and you know I'm calling it a class, right? Because we're about to get educated, right? For those of us who don't know, some of you guys can educate me, and that's okay. I'm always a student. I'm learning every day. I'm always a student. But for those of you guys who don't know, we have to understand that there is a strategy that has to happen politically in order for change to happen. And their strategy, how Chicago came to what it is today, that strategy that was put into place that we're about to explore was done with strategy. It was done on a chessboard, not checkers, right? And then you were able to see it almost repeat itself all over again because there was a strategy put in place which helped the people of Chicago prior to us, the melanated people migrated into Chicago. There was a strategy put into place that is solid. It's ingrained in the culture of Chicago. And it's really hard to break it. What am I talking about? Let's go back. I want to start with Richard Daley. Richard Daley the first, not his son. I want to start with Richard Daley. How many of you guys know who Richard Daley is? How many of you guys know his history? And how many of you guys know how he wound up gaining power to Chicago for over 20 years? How many of you guys know why and how that happened? You don't know, I'm going to tell you anyway. Right? You can say I know, you can say I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you anyway. Let's talk about Richard Daley. Richard Daley, before he lost his grip to power back in 1968, around there, after the civil rights movement happened, before he lost his grip and power, you have to understand that this man, from when he was a young child, as the records show and the documentaries show on him, when he was a young child, he always had a vision to lead the people of Chicago. Now, when I'm talking about the people of Chicago in this era, I'm not talking about the melanated people of Chicago. The people of Chicago that he was seeking out to lead was his people in Chicago. You understand what I'm saying? He was groomed. He was conditioned. He was mentored. He was trained. He was developed to take over Chicago way before he became a mayor. But his power in Chicago exceeded what many mayors across this nation is able to do. His power went past the walls of Chicago. His power went into Congress. His power went into the presidency. His power was way, way bigger than just Chicago in and of itself. I'm going to tell you why this matters. He was an Irishman. He was an Irishman, and he was from Bridgeport section of Chicago. There were a lot of poor white people in that area, in Chicago, period. Chicago was a rich city, and it probably still is, right? Nah, I think their economics is hit. They got a lot of debt, but that's not here or there. Chicago at that time was a rich city, but the people were poor. The people were without jobs. The people were struggling to stay afloat. And everybody was benefiting from the city of Chicago, but the people itself. And he saw this. The gangs saw this. The mobsters saw this. Everyone saw this. And they knew what was happening to their city. So the Irish immigrants began to organize themselves for power. See, listen, melanated people, y'all got to hear me. You got to hear me. I'm going to say that again because sometimes y'all don't get it. The Irish immigrants begin to organize themselves for power. They saw that their people were poor. They saw that their people could not eat. They saw that their people were struggling in a city that was booming in terms of their resources and economics, but it wasn't for them. Other businesses were profiting from Chicago, but not the people in themselves. So they started to organize and they started to educate themselves about politics. Why y'all think I'm saying this right now? Why do you think I'm telling you guys about the Irish people organizing? And why do you think I'm telling you all about the Irish people starting to educate themselves about politics? Why do you think I'm sharing that part right there with you? We're in class. And if y'all don't want to go to class, y'all can go ahead and get on out of here because we're going to educate today. We're going to teach today because I'm so sick and tired of my people not knowing, not understanding politics. I'm so sick and tired of my people constantly over and over and over again making the same political mistakes. I'm so sick and tired of it. And I need for us to wake up and understand this. We don't got to do it like the Irishman, but we got to do it like the Irishman, if that makes any sense. Right? They understood the power of politics. They understood that they had to organize so that they can get into control of the offices. They had to gain the control in politics in order for their people not to starve, in order for their people to have an opportunity at success, in order for their people to be able to live out the so-called American dream. They knew we had to organize in order for that to happen. He had a mentor. His mentor was named McDonald. That was the last name of his mentor. And his mentor groomed him and got him prepared and in position so that he can one day lead. And from his mentor, he learned that you have to work to take care of your community. You have to do it for your community. You have to be the fighter. You have to be the voice for your community. If you want to win, if you want your people to come up out of poverty, if you want jobs for your people, you have to create it for your people. You have to be the leader for your people. You have to be committed to your people. And the only way you're going to do that is if you understand politics, how it works, and you get a seat in the political arena. And he started to do that well. He worked his way up. He didn't automatically become mayor. He had little odds and end jobs. He was volunteering. He was learning behind the scenes. He was meeting with his mentor, McDonald. He was doing all the things that he needed to do so that he can be propelled into a position to lead. But something eventually started to happen in the city of Chicago. There was a whole bunch of Southern Black folks, or as they might say, Southern Negroes, right, that started to migrate to the city of Chicago for work. Because you know how word on the street is. Like, once we say, you know what, you can go get a job at ABC time, we all start moving, especially we struggling. And we were struggling in the South. We were struggling like no other in the South. And segregation was booming. Segregation was booming. And so our people believed that we were not going to be met with the same struggles that we face in the South if we migrated out to Chicago. Now, you know that wasn't true, right? You know segregation was everywhere. You know that the North can pretend, you know, I'm from New York City. I'm from New York City. There's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of segregation. There's a lot of discrimination. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of that stuff that goes down in New York City. But for some reason, we've been conditioned to believe that it ain't that bad. It ain't that bad in the North because people know how to hide it. People know how to cloak it. People know how to disguise it. People know how to keep it subtle. So the American Negro felt Chicago was where they needed to be. And they started to migrate. And this started to shift their environment because Daley and his people, this is before he even became a mayor. This is before he was even a mayor. He had a club, the Hamburg Club. They had organization. They had so many things going on. They were tied into illegal dealings with the gangs and stuff. You know, they had a lot of tie. It was a lot of money from the people who was involved in illegal operations. There was a lot of money to back the political people that was going to represent them and to protect them so they can make sure they keep getting paid and their community keeps getting fed. I want to pause for just a second. Because I want y'all to really hear that. We used to do that. Now, no culture, no race, no ethnicity is innocent. We all have gangs. We all have illegal dealings. We all have bad people, period. And back in the day, our bad people used to take care of their community. Just like the Italian bad people and the Irish bad people and the Jewish bad people. Yes, the Jewish bad people. I know y'all like to think the Jewish bad people were all good. No. The Jewish bad people had gangs too, and they was involved in illegal dealings too. But we used to take care of our community just like those gangsters used to take care of their community. Because they knew that in order for you to maintain power, you have to manage and keep your community. In order for you to maintain power, you have to make sure your informal power, not your politicians, not your police officers, your informal power is the people. You had to make sure that the people were good, because if the people were good and they knew that you were keeping them good, the people will keep you good. Now, let me tell y'all something before I go on with this conversation here. Hold on a second. Hold on, because we're going to use Milton as an example, because we're going to pause for a second, because we are in class, and I'm going to pick some of you guys to have a kind of conversation before, I go on with the story, because this is not about agreeing or disagreeing, right? So Milton says, I don't agree. So the first question is, you don't agree with what? What was said? He said, a leader isn't a politician. Milton, rewind the video and let me know where I said that the leader was a politician. We're not even on politicians right now. Richard Daley wasn't even a politician at this point, right? So let me know where I said that a leader is a politician, number one. And now people need leaders. right? Where did I say our people don't need leaders? I don't know, Milton. I don't want to make any assumptions here. We don't need charity. We need those of us with wealth back in the founding of a privately owned institution. Whoa, Milton, I don't want to assume that you're being Mr. Emotional, because you know I don't deal with the emotionals. So let's back up. Let's back up. Who said we need charity? Who said this message is about charity? Who said that? Number one, right? He says, we don't need charity. We need those of us with wealth back the funding of a privately owned institution that makes the target audience us, shareholders. I've heard no Pan-African speak like no religious leaders, no one. What are you talking about? You see what I'm talking about? This is what I'm talking about. And again, we don't have to agree with each other. We got to make sense, and we got to make sure we're following the bouncing ball. No one said that a leader is a politician, but just so you can know, a leader can be a politician, but no one said that a leader is a politician. Number one. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I gotta pause for a second, y'all. Family. I gotta pause for just a second. Y'all see how hard this work is? Do y'all really see how hard this work is? Because we gotta follow the bouncing ball. And this is what we do. When we come to the table and we try to have these kind of conversations, people only get snippets of information. They're not even listening. And this is how people's relationships look too. Y'all know I'm a relationship expert, right? If y'all not following me on Instagram, I suggest y'all go over there on Instagram. Go ahead and hit follow your girl on Instagram. Like you know, y'all know. I know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to relationships, right? And this is a relationship right now. You, me, us, we're building a relationship. And in order for relationships to be effective, we have to seek to understand. We have to listen, not to argue. It's not always about, I don't agree. It's not always about that. Sometimes it's about, let me listen. Let me hear what's coming up. Let's ask some questions so I can make sure I'm following the bouncing ball. And this is what happens in relationships. This is exactly what happens in relationships. People are not listening to understand. They're listening to respond because they're so hell-bent on their own belief system that they're not willing to explore others. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. We got to stop doing it, sisters and brothers. We got to stop doing it. If this is how you lead your relationship, no one's coming at you. We're all in class. And if this is how you lead your relationship in social media, I wonder how you look in your own personal relationship. Put your wife on the line if you got a wife. Put your girl on the line if you got a girl. Let me speak to her. Let me hear how you show up. Shit. Let's go back to the class. You see what I'm talking about? I love you. I love you for real, Milton. I do, but we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to really listen. It's not about arguments. It's about listening. So let's go back. Who's going to remind me where I was at? Right? We're in class. I'm going to use some of your fun examples. I swear I am. Right? But y'all got to stop doing shit like that. Right? Anyways, I was saying, when the blacks, the Negroes from the South, started to migrate into, you see, this is the dumb shit right here. Hold up a second. This is the dumb shit right here. No disrespect, but aren't you divorced? What the hell does that have to do with the price of tea in China? What does that have to do with today's conversation about Chicago? You see what I'm talking about, y'all? Do y'all see what I'm talking about? This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It don't have nothing to do with the price of tea in China, but we do things like this because we like distractions. We don't want to learn. We just want to do things like, we got to point these kinds, because I want you guys to look at these kind of things. Because this is how some of y'all have conversations too in your relationships. This is how y'all have conversations. You can't stay on tap. You can't stay on track. And this is why your partner don't want to talk to you. Right? Can't stay on track. We talking about picking up the kids from school and you mad about what happened last week. Two different things. Distraction. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I stay paid. This is why I stay paid. Because people need help. People need help. So let's go on. Back to the Southern blacks, right? The Southern Negroes. They started to migrate into Chicago. Now, Chicago was in this nice little fluffy world because their fluffy world was filled with Irishmen. Their fluffy world was filled with Polish people. Sometimes it was Jewish people. Like it was fluffy. It was fluffy. It was white. It was snowy. It was snowy. But one thing Chicago did not have a whole bunch of before they started migrating into the city of Chicago was Negroes. So now y'all know whenever the Negroes come, that makes certain people very emotional. And it was one summer where Eugene Williams, a black kid, was swimming because it was a hot summer day in Chicago, was swimming. There was an invisible line in the water, an invisible line, meaning invisible for some people that don't know what invisible is. You know, some people just don't get it. It's like the comprehension is low. But invisible means you can't see it. It doesn't really exist. You know, can't really see it, right? There was an invisible line. Can't really see it. Can't touch it. Doesn't really exist. Invisible, you know? He happened to cross over the invisible line into the white part of the lake. And white people didn't like that. So they started to stone him. And he drowned to death. He was stoned to death and he drowned. And this right there turned up the first heat in Chicago. That's when Negroes really started to see we escaped the South, but we're not safe in the North either, right? The Irishmen went on a full-blown attack against black men. They were giving the business to black men left and right. But don't get it twisted. Blacks fought back. They fought back. At the end of this fight, 38 people, white and black, were dead. Right? But what they started to realize when they started to do investigations that there was somebody from Daley's crew, this is before he was even a politician, who initiated the riot. There was a member, that Daley is the member or the owner or the leader, whatever the case is, of the Hamburg Club. And they're the ones that kept going into black neighborhoods, beating up black men, doing all types of ridiculous things. So after that happened, it led to the 1919 racial riot. And I don't know if y'all know about it. We're not going into the riot, but y'all can do your own research. And Daley was believed to have been involved in that riot, but his hands never got dirty, meaning they didn't find anything on him. But you got to remember that Daley was tied into the gang members. He was tied into the illegal arena. So you already know when you have that kind of backing of the people, they're going to make sure your hands stay clean because they had a goal for him. They were prepping him and grooming him so that he can one day take over. So they had to make sure he doesn't get in trouble. So they all were organized. And you already know, it didn't say it, but you know, you can draw 1 + 1 is 2. You can draw conclusions. You already know that the gang members were paying off the police, the judges, the lawyers. Everybody kept his hands clean. And the charges and the accusations against Daley disappeared. Now you have to understand, we're talking about 1919. Shortly after that was the Prohibition. Now you know, and after the Prohibition was the Great Depression. So you already know Irish people, Polish people, Jewish people, they were all involved in the Prohibition. They were all making money. They were all paying off officers. They was all making sure they kept their money coming. But there was a problem here, and the problem was the black community. We had to make sure they don't interrupt our peace. We have to make sure they don't come into our communities. They don't mix with our children. They don't do anything like that. We don't want them taking our money because that was their fear. Their fear was if these Negroes continue to migrate into Chicago at these numbers, the jobs that we're creating for our people are going to be taken. Because everyone's fighting against segregation. Everyone's saying you cannot hire a Black person. You got to hire them. So they started to get really concerned about this. And they knew we had to really control that. Because we're building this city for our people. We're not building this city for Negroes. Eventually, the people, the Irish people, the Polish people, the Jewish people, were eventually able to elect Cermak into position. And Daley started to serve as his clerk. Then Cermak was killed at a time that FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, visited the city. He got killed. And then Daley went to law school. Daley worked himself up in politics via Congress. He was at the Senate. He was all in that area over there. And then he eventually returned to Chicago in the 1940s to get into the political arena. Now, I'm saying this for a reason. Yes, I'm referring to Daley Sr. We're back in the 60s, not his son. And it's important. I'm glad you said that, DB. I'm so glad you said that because we have to understand why his son came into power and why his son served more years than his father did. His father served over 2 decades. It was only like 1 or 2 more years. But nonetheless, we got to understand why his father was able to serve 21 years. And then later on, when I get to his son was able to serve, I believe it was, and don't quote me on this, you guys can look it up. He was able to serve 22 years. No one else since the 50s have had that kind of track record besides the Daleys. This is why I'm sharing the history with you guys. This is why I want you to know how he was groomed to make sure he intentionally protected his people in his community. So he returned to Chicago. He was a Democrat. Y'all know I had to throw it in there, right? He was a Democrat. You know, I'm going to say it again for a 3rd time, right? He was a Democrat. He rose to power. He came back to Chicago. And he was on it. He was on it because he came back at a perfect time. He came back when the city of Chicago was cracking down on the gangsters. They were trying to clean up the gangsters, and the gangsters needed to make sure that they protected their power, their informal power. You cannot overlook informal power, people. We have informal power, but the problem is we're not organized enough, right? We have a lot of informal power, and they know it. They know it. The politicians, the Senate, the legislation, the House of Representatives, Congress, the president, they know how much informal power we have, but they're not threatened by it. They're not threatened by it because we do not organize accordingly. They knew their power was at stake. It's a risk here. So they started to position Daley for mayor. They started to let everyone know you vote for him. They started to do their little illegal operations to ensure that people were going to vote for him. Because if you ain't vote for him, your business was going to be shaken down. If you ain't vote for Daley, you was going to get hit with the 1-2. You was going to meet some monsters. You get what I'm saying? They say we gangster. No, baby. We ain't nothing. We fake gangster. Baby, when I tell you they gangster, they are gangster. You will have a body floating in the river if you ain't vote for Daley. Now, I might be adding a little bit of sugar and spice on that part right there. I ain't got no evidence and proof, but I don't put it past them. Floating in the river. And that's what they did. They had Daley go out to every ward in Chicago to organize in every ward in Chicago to speak in every area in Chicago. And he won for mayor in 1955. He used his political backing to yield power. When I say his political backing, he used his connection with the bosses. He used his connection with the gangsters, the mobs. He used his connection with all of those people so that he can gain power because it benefited them and it benefited him and it benefited his people. The people were poor. And guess what he started to do for his people? He started to create jobs for his people. He remained so close to his community, Bridgeport. I'm talking about Bridgeport. He remained so connected to his community that his community elected him over and over and over and over again. He served 21 years. He took care of his community. And let me pause for just a second. Let me pause for just a second. He took care of his community. Now, here's the problem I'm having with some of us, politically speaking. We elect a lot of people who look like us into political positions. And we do so without even asking our own people that we put into the position for anything in return. Now, we know we want to ask Shay Whiting. We want to ask Shay Whiting for some tangibles, but are we asking our own people for tangibles as well? Because we have to understand that it is our people that keep us in position of power. It is our people that keep us in position of leadership. And in order for you to stay in position of power, in order for you to stay in a position of leadership, you have to feed and employ the people. So I'm asking you guys, when you think about the politicians, the black politicians, we ain't talking about white politicians. When you think about the black politicians that you have elected into position, that you get excited when they come to your church to speak to you, only in election time they come to your church, right? So strategic and so evil. But nonetheless, when they come to your church to speak to you, when they come to your senior citizen center, or only the safe places, right? Your church, your senior citizen center, and your projects that's the least dangerous to speak to y'all. What do you ask for from your black politicians? What promises do you make sure they shake your hands on? Or do they tell you? Do they tell you what they're going to do, but they never deliver? See, Daley never told his people what he was going to do and didn't deliver. He was able to deliver is because he had the financial backing of his people. Let me say that again. He was able to deliver to his people because he had the financial backing of his people. I'm making that clear? He had the financial backing of his people. So when you put money behind, so I always say follow the money trail. When you put money behind something, then you can make demands. Because the people that need your money know that if they do not deliver, they're going to lose some money. Honey, if they do not deliver, they're not going to come back into position the following election year. But we out there excited to see a black face. We ain't got no real money behind them. You know who put the money behind the black faces, right? This is not race politics. This is history, right? So if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. But we got to talk about it. But we know whose money is behind black politicians, y'all, right? This is part one. We got to do part two. Because part two, we're going to understand why Mayor Lightfoot is in the position she's in and why she's, another conversation for a later time. But you do understand that whoever has the money behind that politician they're the people that politician is going to serve. He had the financial backing of his people. And when he told his people we were going to create jobs, we was going to create housing, and we were going to keep your neighborhood safe, he delivered on that. He delivered on that. The people were poor, so he created jobs. He made sure his face stayed in his community. He didn't get elected, like some of our black asses, nonetheless. He didn't get elected and then run away out of his community. He got elected and he stayed in his community. And he politicked with his community. And he made sure he showed up at funerals. He showed up at different events. He made sure he stayed connected to his community. And that's how he remained in power. But you know what's crazy? No, it ain't. It ain't crazy. It's sick. It's psychologically sick that we do this. But I'm going to say crazy for the sake of this podcast. You know what's crazy? Is that black clergymen serve daily, like we always do, right? Like we always do. It's always the black clergyman. It's always the black clergyman. It's so sad. It's so sad. But black clergymen serve daily, relentlessly. They were faithful to this man, that he did nothing for their community, but they were faithful for him in telling their community that they had to continue to vote for Daley because Daley loves Chicago and Daley is going to take care of them, and he never delivered on them. I'll tell you what he did do. Southern Negroes, aka the blacks. The blacks. You know how they like to call us the blacks. I find that so funny. Y'all probably don't find it funny, but I find it hilarious. I'm like, the blacks. These people are hilarious. You can't let people like that bother you. You can't let them get to you. But nonetheless, the Southern Negroes kept coming into Chicago at record numbers. Their housing, where they were residing at, where they were allowed to live at, because you know they only had them squeezed in a little area. You could not come out of that little area because you might meet a rock in your head. You might not come out alive. So you could not pass that invisible line. They had them so packed into that area, they were becoming problematic because there were so many of them. They was living in so much poverty because there were no jobs for the black people. They couldn't feed their children. They couldn't keep a roof over their head. They didn't have a nice house. They didn't have anything there. And they were packed into this little area, and they was getting out of control, and they were becoming eyesores for white people. So Daley and his people and the politicians on all different legislative levels all got together, and they were saying, what are we going to do with the blacks? What are we going to do with and about the blacks? Something needs to be done. And this is where Daley's downfall started to come with the blacks, because their strategy were to build housing projects. Y'all know about the housing projects, right? But it wasn't because we want to make sure they're safe and they have adequate housing. That's not why they did it. It's because there were so many of them and they were not allowed to move out of certain areas. They were busting at the seam and they were trickling over into white lines and white spaces. So they had to make sure, no. We got to do something to keep these blacks contained. So they built high-rise project buildings, housing. And they believed that that would work. And this is what some of the ignorance of these people do. Let me tell you what the ignorance is. That's right. Somebody said Cabrini greenhouses. Absolutely. This is the ignorance of what they do. Daley's mindset, you can look this up. You ain't got to believe me. Daley's mindset was, if this worked for Irish immigrants and we were able to immigrate into Chicago, we didn't have anything, and now we're booming. Now we have, this is giving them a start. But what he failed to realize is you just building tall high rises. You're not giving them jobs to make sure they can feed their family, pay their rent. You're not giving them money. So if you have a whole bunch of people living in the community and there's no resources and there's no money, we already know what's going to happen. And he couldn't for the life of him understand, why are they acting like this? Why are the blacks out of control? Why are the blacks so criminal? Let alone that all the Polish people, the Irish people, the Jews were criminals too. You ain't hearing from me. I'm not the one to gossip, right? But he could understand why they acting like that, because he wasn't able to see that his community, check this out, y'all. Check this out, y'all. Some of y'all ain't gonna like this. Some of y'all ain't gonna like this, but I'm gonna say that. His community did not suffer the way the blacks suffered, because his community was taken care of by his community. His community was taken care of by his community. Let's pause for just a second. We're going to shift gears for just a second, because we're going to start talking about the blacks, the blacks in Chicago. We're going to start talking about the blacks. You got to understand, the reason why the blacks was all living in one area is because there were restrictive covenants. Y'all can look that up. Restrictive covenants. This is in reference to real property, real estate, right? Land, real estate, ownership. There was restrictive covenants that says that the blacks cannot go out of certain areas. So they're not allowed to buy houses, like redlining, right? They're not allowed to buy houses in certain areas. They can't come over they have to stay in this area. So we're going to build, we're just going to build in that area, and that's it. That's all they're going to get. And what they did with these restrictive covenants is they pushed the slums all to one area, these high-rise projects, Cabrini houses, and and other greenhouses, those high-rises projects, they pushed them all into one area so they can control the flow of migration. And let me break this down for a second, because I want y'all to really understand how this happens. You ever see a community? Let's get off the blacks for a second. Get off the blacks for just a second. You ever see a community that for some reason all the same immigrants live there? It might be all Indian people. It might be all Arabs. It might be all Hispanic people. They all live in the same area. You got to understand that this is designed that way. They control the flow of where the migration goes. They control the flow, they meaning the political sphere, they control the flow of where the immigrants go. And so that's why you see these concentrated areas of these people that says that's all you can be. That's all you can only go into this area. Don't come venturing out. This is where you're going to be. So it was worse in the 50s and the 60s. It's not, it still happens. It still happens now. But it's more disguised. It's camouflage now, right? It happens differently. We were migrating into the Chicago area with no money. We were coming into the Chicago area with no land. We was coming into the Chicago area looking for a way to feed our family. See, the difference is America today as we know it. When we have all these people from other ethnicities, migrate or immigrate into a certain area, they usually have the flow or the backing of their country, or they have the flow and their backing of their money, or they have the backing of our government that gives them grants, that gives them different incentives and subsidies in order for them to survive. See, Black folks did not have that. They were excluded from opportunity. And when they became too much for the whites of Chicago, you ruining buildings. The poverty is so bad. They're dropping drugs into the community. You guys are becoming too damn much. Your kids ain't going to school. Y'all all illiterate. This is becoming too much. They deem those areas blighted. And once they said that these areas are blighted, they took over by eminent domain. They started to knock down the buildings. knock down the buildings. They built certain high rises, but not too many. But they started to knock them down, and that didn't fix the problem. And not only did they knock them down, in many areas they have not to this day built it back up. Now we talk about he took the position as a mayor in 1955. So we're talking about the 50s, we're talking about the 60s. They knocked this sucker down over 2 decades ago. And many of these areas are still not built back up. It's empty, vacant lots in Chicago. Where are my Chicago people at? Let me know how y'all doing in Chicago. It's a lot of vacant lots. Don't get it twisted. It's owned by somebody. I think it's a strategy. It's a strategy. It's owned by somebody. They know when they're going to build it up. They're going to hold it vacant for as long as they know what they're doing. But anyway, so they figured we got all these people. They build different buildings for them. Still didn't give them no jobs. They didn't realize that the buildings that they were building, they allowed it to be privatized, allowed private companies to manage these real estate buildings. But if they didn't realize they ain't going to have enough money to maintain the upkeep of these buildings, so they turned it over to the housing authority, right? They went from private and turned it over to the government, and it got even worse. The government said, we ain't dealing with the shit. And that's when the government came down. I had to backtrack a little bit. That's when the government said, knock these buildings down. Because if we got to maintain these buildings, and these fools out here killing each other, sleeping on the street, they're on drugs, they're all over the place. These blacks are getting out of control. We're not going to maintain these buildings. Okay, maybe they didn't say it like that. I'm giving y'all the Dr. Shonna flavor, but you know they was thinking that. Y'all know I just say what people are thinking. That's what they was thinking. They said, we ain't doing all this shit. We're not going to do this. It's becoming too much. See, they didn't want to take accountability for what they were doing. They had these housing projects. So now we're going to build up these high rises, and we're going to have all these criteria in there. But we ain't taking care of no man. So if you got a man in your house and you living in these housing projects, he got to go. He can't stay here. So they removed the fathers from the home. They was on welfare. Your father definitely can't be. You can't be here. Can't be here because y'all ain't got no jobs. You ain't got no money. We giving y'all money so y'all can survive. And you got a whole goddamn man in your house. Oh no, he got to go. Can't live here. So then you leave. They weren't planning for what the aftermath was going to look like. Now you have all these children, especially male children, left in a home with no father, no supervision, and they roaming the streets, tearing shit up. They tearing shit up. And the government's like, oh Lord, they up here tearing shit up. These blacks are out of control. No one is taking accountability. No one is saying, we're not giving them jobs. Because everyone is saying, listen, the Irish people took care of their own and gave each other jobs. Why can't they do it? The Polish people took care of their own and gave each other jobs. Why can't they do it? The Jewish people took care of their own and gave their people jobs. Why can't they do it? We all were immigrants. We all came here with nothing. Isn't that the narrative? Isn't that always the narrative? We came here with nothing. And we did it. Why can't they do it? They want to kill each other. But they don't realize removing a man out the home. Oh, I know some of y'all want to hear this right now because I know some mamas out there, y'all. Some mamas out there like their Happy Father's Day card. That's a whole nother conversation, right? I'm just saying, some of y'all ain't gonna want to hear this because y'all like to get your Happy Father's Day card. Y'all like to be on social media, stronging it up. I'm a mother and a father and a sister and a brother. Y'all be doing too much for me. Y'all be doing too much for Dr. Shonna. I'm just letting y'all know y'all be doing entirely too much. But we ain't talking about that right now. We're not talking about that right now. So nonetheless, they didn't realize the consequences of that. Removing the father out the home. Do y'all remember that video? Let's take a little break. We're almost finished. Take a little break for a second. Do y'all remember that I did? When I gave you guys the research study of the elephants. I forgot the name of those elephants. Y'all can go ahead and Google it, or y'all can go to YouTube and search it. It was about the elephants in a part of Africa. I forgot the type of elephants it were. And they did a research where they started to kill off the elephants, right? They were killing off the elephants, and it was too many male adult male elephants that were killed off or they were moved to other areas, and they left all these young adolescent elephant males with no father. Y'all remember that video I did? I wish I knew how to do the stuff that other fancy people do on YouTube where they say you can follow this video right there. I don't know how to do that shit. I ain't learning today. Not today. But nonetheless, I did a video about that. Y'all got to go back through all my videos. I've been doing videos for a long time. Y'all got to go back and see that. But nonetheless, in that study, they realized that the adolescent elephants was wreaking havoc on a community. They were crossing over boundaries that they ordinarily would not cross over. See, the elephants usually don't come into the towns and bother people. But these elephants was coming into the town, effing up everybody. They were even effing up rhinos. The elephants were straight killing rhinos. It was so bizarre that the zoologists and the other scientists couldn't quite figure it out. They thought that poachers were coming in and killing the rhinos and taking the tusk off the rhino for money. So they set up cameras everywhere and they started watching, saying, well, who the hell is coming in killing our rhinos? This is crazy. And then they realized these little jokers, these adolescent little jokers, was wrecking havoc. They were killing rhinos. Elephants was raping rhinos. Y'all think I'm making this up? Now, y'all know I'm funny. I got a personality, but I'm not making none of this stuff up. Y'all can go ahead and look for it. Go look at the research yourself. They were wrecking havoc. And they could not, for the life of them, understand why are these young male elephants wilding out? They're coming into communities. They're scaring the residents. They are acting up. We got to do something about these out of control goddamn elephants. So, one African scientist said, I think I know what the problem is. We need to go take a male elephant figure from another community that they had shipped them out to. Remember, they was either killing them or shipping them out because they was becoming too much. He said, we need to bring them in. We need to bring one of the grand male elephants back into the community. See what happens. So they go, they tranquilize him, they airlift the big behind elephant, bring him back to where the area where he was taken away from, and they just put it there. And this elephant was roaming, and whenever he saw the little male elephants, the little gangsters, the little elephant gang members, when he saw them, you know, they try to buck up on him. He let them know, I'm not the one. You can't play with me. Buck up with me, you lose your life tonight. Let's go. I'm not playing these games. And the little suckers, the little punks, started to back away from him. And he started to teach them how to be young male elephants. And then the elephants started to get themselves in line. And then they started to realize the hormones, because they was looking at the hormones from the elephants' bowel movements they started to see that these young male elephants, their hormones are really, really high. They should not be this high at this age. And they started to see that over time, the hormone levels in these young male elephants started to come down, and they started to act in accordance with how they're supposed to be. And they were following this male elephant, and they were learning from him, and they stopped killing rhinos, and they stopped destroying the community. But happy Father's Day to all the mothers out there. Happy Father's Day to y'all. I'm just saying. But nonetheless, I said to myself, I guess they ain't know about that study. Maybe that study wasn't out then. I don't know. But you can't remove fathers from the home and expect the young males not to be out of control, right? So the government said, this is crazy. The blacks are out of control. We got to knock down these housing projects, knock the shits all down. And that's when they knocked it down. That's how the story goes. They knocked it down. They never built it back up. They turned the land over to private owners and private developers. There's still vacant lands there to this day. They gave them Section 8 vouchers. You know how they do that, right? Y'all know how they do that? Gave them Section 8 vouchers. Said you can go somewhere. Go get some nice housing. We're going to pay people to take you in. They thought that was going to be the problem. But the only thing those Section 8 vouchers did is recreate the poverty, recreate the crime, recreated the unlivable communities. It just recreated it. But this mayor was still in position, still taking care of his people. He wasn't stopping the drugs from entering. He couldn't understand why the young Black youth were upset. He didn't know why. Y'all check this out. He didn't know why they were rioting. He didn't know why they were rebelling. He didn't know why there were so many fights and stuff going on in Chicago. The Blacks are out of control. Why are they burning down their buildings? Not we helped create this. Not we systematically created the poverty. Not we have allowed the drugs and guns into the community. Not that, but why are the Blacks acting up? I'm gonna fix this because you're not gonna come into my city. This is what they do, right? Remember, what political party he was a part of? What political party was he a part of? I just want y'all to know. I'm just saying. What political party was he a part of? I want to make sure y'all listening. Make sure you're not asleep. So I know there's a long class. I'm almost over. But what political party, y'all? Come on now. Come on. There you go. Thank you, A. Dunlap. The Democrats. He was part of the Democratic Party. He said the Blacks are out of control. So guess what I'm going to issue to make sure the Blacks know you can't come into the city of Chicago and burn shit down. You can't do that under my city. So does anybody know what order he put into place? Do you know what executive order he put into place to make sure the blacks stop that shit? It was all over the news. He was speaking about it so proudly. He was happy that he issued, since y'all ain't telling me what it is, I'm going to tell y'all what it is. He was happy that he issued a shoot to kill order, law and order. Y'all was so upset. Somebody said a curfew. A curfew? Nah, Monique. It was not a curfew, sweetie girl. He issued a shoot to kill order and a shoot to maim order. Right there on TV. He said, not with this civil unrest. Oh, hell no. If you want to come and throw a cocktail through the window to set a building on fire, you think you're going to burn down my city, I'm ordering a police officer to kill your ass on sight. Shoot to kill order. So you ask yourself the question, because you ain't got to ask me the questions. I know the answer to it. But you ask yourself the question. Why did he get elected so many times? And why were the Black community so faithful to re-electing him? Why was the Blacks so faithful to re-electing a man that put a shoot to kill order in place to kill your Black asses? Everybody knew it was for the Blacks because the Blacks was out of control. Everybody knew that shoot to kill order was for the Blacks. Biden has said some disparaging things and believes some disparaging things that he communicated out loud. And you guys, not Biden, Bittler, my bad, Bittler. You guys have put Bittler in a chair. Clinton has put some laws on the books and make sure the Blacks will control. And you guys have put Clinton in a chair. A shoot to kill and a shoot to maim order. He said, if you see anybody looting, stealing, shoot to maim. I don't care if you cripple him. I don't care if you put him in a wheelchair. You make sure you shoot to kill his ass. I'm just trying to tell y'all. So then what happened? I'll tell y'all what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened. Beloved Dr. King came into Chicago. He wanted to talk about how the Blacks were being treated. He want to get this under control. He came in with his peaceful protest ideology. He came in representing the blacks. The protests with the blacks did not remain peaceful. Dr. King did not want his reputation to be tarnished because he was all about nonviolence, and the blacks were getting violent because they were tired. Daley wanted the blacks to stop. Dr. King wanted the blacks to stop. Daley was backed by the Democratic Party. Dr. King was backed by the Democratic Party. And so they sat down and they had a conversation. And I think it was called the Summit Agreement or something like that. The Summit, I think it was the Summit Agreement or something like that. It's in the 60s, the Summit, right before they killed King. I think it was the Summit Agreement. Y'all gonna have to look it up. Don't quote me on that. I was looking to see if I wrote it down, but I didn't. But Dr. King sat down and they come up with this Summit Agreement, and Dr. King thought that he was helping Daley to see that the reason why the blacks are out of control is because the blacks cannot move into better communities. The blacks could not have better access to schools. These things needed to change. You got to make a change. Y'all can't keep black people out of these areas. This is crazy. We got to be able to allow the blacks to move into better housing and to be living under better conditions. This is what they want. So Daley said, okay, we're going to sit down. We're going to have this Summit Agreement. Y'all got to fact check this. See if it's called the Summit Agreement in Chicago. Just put Google Summit Agreement Chicago. I think that's the name of it. I didn't write it down. I researched it, but I think it's called the Summit Agreement, but I could be wrong. So don't hold me to that. If I'm wrong, somebody just put the right one in the chat. But I believe it was called the Summit Agreement between that Dr. King and Daley Sr. came up with. And it was saying that we're not going to discriminate on housing and blacks will be able to live into other areas. But you know what? All of that stuff was fluff because they put that stuff in writing. Listen to what I'm saying, y'all. They put that stuff in writing, but nobody enforced it. And that's the trickery that the Democratic Party and many other parties, all the politicians for the most part, that's the trickery that they do. We complain, we protest. In some cases, we burn shit down, right? People get killed. The blacks get killed. The others get killed. And then they come and they sit down and they say, this is what we're going to do. But nobody enforces it. It never happens. The blacks will still live in the same condition. I want y'all to check this out. I'm about to end right now, y'all. I want y'all to check. Okay, thank you for that, Queen Hanifa. Oh, that's my spiritual mom. Thank you for that, Mom. She says Summit Agreement is correct. Thank you. So Daley started to lose control over the city. It started to get worse because even though he had this agreement put into place in the 60s, the late 60s, right before King was killed in Memphis, had this put into place, never happened. But by this time, this man was not liking you blacks. You blacks were out of control. Out of control. Fred Hampton, y'all remember Fred Hampton in the Chicago area? Him and one of his colleagues shot to death with multiple bullets by who? Chicago PD. Under whose rule? Daley's. And once the cops killed Fred Hampton, oh baby, it got worse. And then the war with Vietnam and all that, it got worse. It was out of control. It was out of control. Daley had lost his power. You know why Daley lost his power? Because he did what many politicians still do to this day. Y'all come and get the black votes, but you don't take care of the black people. But I get it now. I get it. I always got it, but I want to act like I get it right now, right? I get it right now. I get it right now. You saying it ain't your responsibility to take care of us. It's y'all responsibility to take care of y'all. Just like we took care of our people. We're not going to take care of you. He was out of control. Daley just wanted his power. He was losing his power. He started, everybody was going to get it. If you want to make craziness in his city, if you're going to show that his city is a dangerous city, you're not going to show the beauty of what he built the city to be. You want to destroy it, then y'all all got to go shoot him, kill him, kill him, kill him. We gave you guys housing projects. You messed that up. We gave you guys the nice summit agreement. Y'all don't even want to get housing. Y'all want to kill each other. You want to start organizing and being malicious with these militia walking around the neighborhood. Kill them too. Kill everybody. They killed him. Killed Hampton. Blacks were outraged. Blacks said, no, we're not supporting this dude no more. We're not supporting this dude. He lost his power. He started to lose his power. Right? The Republicans swooped in, started filing all type of legal proceedings against his cabin. People in his cabin was being indicted for all types of criminal activities and fraud, right? He lost his votes among the blacks. It was getting out of control, and eventually he died. He died. But he reigned for 21 years. 21 years. 21 years. And black people were poor under him, and black people are poor to this day under Lori Lightfoot. And you know something? Lori is blowing a whole bunch of smoke too. We're going to talk about Lori, but not tonight. She blowing a whole bunch of smoke too. Now she got in 2001, I believe it was in April. Y'all gonna have to Google it. I think it was April of this year, 2001. She came up with the blueprint for fair housing. Same crap, different toilet. Same crap, different toilet. Ain't gonna mean nothing. You can come with the blueprint for fair housing all you want. If it ain't enforced, if nothing changes, nothing changes. As simple as that. So I say this to say this to you guys as we wrap this up. I'm out of here. That was class for today. I hope you guys were all still engaged and focused, right? But I'm going to tell you this. This is why I say this. We got to take care of each other. We got to take care of, I don't care how much voting you do. I'm not telling you not to vote. As you can see how powerful local government is. As you can see, once you start, organizing and you taking care of your community, you gotta get in line politically. And I know a lot of you don't think that, but you gotta understand it. You gotta get in line politically. And in order, you're gonna make sure you protect. We ain't got no backing of no other country. Ain't no other country backing us. We don't got no place to go. If they start wilding out and acting crazy, we have no place to go. We're gonna have to take the abuse day in and day out. We don't have no place to go. And how Africa is, the continent of Africa, we can't go to none of them countries over there either. I know a lot of you are flocking over there, but you know what? Y'all see them articles? Oh, y'all haven't been watching the news. I understand. Y'all not reading the right things, but the whole continent of Africa, for the most part, is under rule, white rule. Right? They want to be whiter than what the white people are. I'm just saying. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm just saying. We ain't got no place to go. We can't even go over there. We ain't got no place to go. And we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. I want you just to understand the reason why I shared this story. And that's not even, I didn't even go into his son in this because the class is over. I didn't even go into his son because you do know that after Daley, this is important for y'all to know. After Daley passed away, we had all Democratic people came into power, right? All Democratic people. But when he passed away, let me tell you who it is. I want y'all to know. I wrote it down somewhere. I'm looking for it in my notes. I want y'all to know this because I don't want y'all to get it twisted. After Daley passed away in 1976, you had someone named Michael Balandic. I think that's the pronunciation. I'm not too sure. He came to finish out Daley's term, right? He was there for 3 years. White guy. Then you had Jane Byrne, the devil like no other. That female devil. Oh, we're not even talking about Jane today. Oh, Jane abused the Black community. Jane made sure she took advantage of our struggle and our plight for her political gain. And guess what? White women loved it. But that's a whole other conversation. But she did 4 years in her term. And after Jane was Harold Washington. We got to do a video on Harold Washington. He was a black guy. And he died 6 months into his second term. And when he passed away, eventually Eugene, who was black, Eugene Sawyer, finished out the rest of his term. And that was only 2 years. And then it went to Richard Daley Jr. And Richard Daley Jr. did 22 years. 22 years. See, I want y'all to look at this for a second. We got to look at this critically. His father did 21 years as a mayor over the city of Chicago. And the reason why his father was able to do that is because he had the backing of the people. We're talking about in the 50s when he got there. He had the backing of the people. He took care of the people. The people knew that he was going to have their back no matter what. They knew that they were going to be safe. They knew they was going to have some jobs. They knew that if any government grants was coming down, they was going to get the money. They was going to be able to build. They was going to be able to have a life. They knew that because they groomed him and they prepped him. So for them, when Daley Jr. gets on the book, it's only like re-electing the father, right? It goes back to the basis. Yeah, we had a little hiccup. When he died, we had a little hiccup. We had 3 jokers in there when he died. This is how they look at it. I'm not saying that they're jokers. I'm saying this is how they look at it. But we finally got back to our roots. We got Junior in the chair now. That is why Junior was able to do 22 years. Because of legacy. Because the people who served his father groomed their children to honor and respect the works that Daley Sr. did. So now their children are now adults when his child, Daley Jr., is growing up. So it's just generational. It's just legacy. It moves right into his son. So his son was able to do 22 years when the other people before him did 4 years, 2 years, 3 years, 22 years. What are we learning about this? What are we learning about this when it comes to Chicago? What is something that we can take away from this? We got to think that way. Keisha said they're not letting go of that tax break. They ain't letting go of legacy. They're not letting go of their plans because all their plans have not come into fruition yet. They're not letting go of it. They refuse to do it. And the people who continue to be a problem, now, I don't believe this, but you understand what I'm saying. You know, for educational purposes, the people who continue to be a problem are the blacks. They still want y'all out there, city. The blacks are out of control. That's right, Black Pearl. It is generational. That's right to my YouTube husband. They did fight for theirs. There you go. Daley's in Chicago inherited the way the mafia does. They were the machine. You are absolutely right, Sonseria. They were the machine. What machine do we have? What machine do we have? Are you guys willing to put your money where your mouth is? I don't mind if you guys protest. I ain't protesting. I ain't doing it. I protest in other ways. I ain't doing that. I am not out there marching on nothing. Talking about give us peace, give us freedom. I ain't doing none of that. Put your money where your mouth is, because only thing that thing has gotten us are empty promises. Empty promises, and they got y'all all tricked to believing great things have happened from protests, peaceful protests. Great things have happened. A lot of empty promises have happened. We still in the same situation. Why is it Lori Lightfoot is putting together the same type of crap blueprint that the summit agreement between Daley and the black people, the blacks in Chicago? Still ain't do nothing. Still ain't do nothing. Still ain't do nothing. It ain't gonna happen. Somebody said we the dancing machine. We the, you know what? Shit. That's a whole other conversation I ain't gonna have tonight. But you right about that one. Shit. We like them TikTok dances, baby. We like to dance on the reels, baby. We like dancing, all right. I'm just saying. Only thing I'm saying to y'all is we keep talking about change. Y'all gotta put your money where your mouth is. Y'all gotta show up strategically. Y'all can't keep running into the churches because the churches ain't what the churches used to be. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. The churches ain't what the churches used to be. The churches ain't doing it. The churches is not going against the Democratic Party. The churches are not going to request anything from the Democratic Party. The churches are not going to hold the Democratic Party responsible. The churches ain't going to do it. They ain't going to do it. They haven't been doing it. They're not going to do it. I know y'all don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. They haven't done it. They're not going to do it. They're not building anything. All the power that the church have, the church ain't building nothing. They can organize. They can structure. They can lead. They ain't going to do it. Not as long as they keep getting them butter biscuits. They are not going to do it. Right? Whew. All right, y'all. I love y'all for real. I love y'all for real. Okay. Somebody said, okay, I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna look this up. Because some of y'all will always be telling me to look things up. And when I dig deep, I'll be laughing. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be laughing at this person. I'm just saying I start laughing. Y'all tell me, oh, look this up. And I look it up. I'm like, they doing too much. They're doing too much. They just like people that sound good. But I'm gonna look it up. Pastor Hannah, y'all got anything else y'all want me to look up? Class is over. Y'all can leave. Right? You said in Chicago. I got that written out. Pastor Hannah. I'll look it up. You said facts, the churches, but Pastor Hannah Chicago, look them up. We'll see. Everyone always say about that church. Yeah, the churches. But look at my pastor. Meanwhile, your community is poor. Your congregation is poor. Y'all still starving and homeless. I'm just saying. I'm not saying nothing about Pastor Hannah. I don't know. I'm just saying, you ain't got no schools. You ain't got no medical facilities. You ain't got no banks. I'm just saying. So I'll look up Pastor Hannah to see he got some schools and hospitals, medical facilities. I'm going to see, I'm going to see he got that. Pastor Hannah. I'm going to see if he got that or he got a nice oratory. He speaks well. Got you guys all wild up to go home on Sunday, ready to do nothing on Monday. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Somebody said, does Hannah have high religious exemptions from shots? All right, y'all. I love you all. Make sure you smash that like button. Share the video. Class was in session. I was good today. I seen somebody was in their feelings, but that's okay. You can be in your feelings. I don't care about your emotions. I really don't. But anyway, I love every last one of you guys for real. Hit that smash button, the like button, share it. Keep on communicating with me. Y'all have anything y'all want me to look up? I'm going to look up Pastor Hannah. Now, if I do a video on Pastor Hannah, that means I found some good stuff that I want to do a video on. But if Pastor Hannah just like to, make y'all feel good emotionally, I don't care about doing a video on them. I'm just saying. If y'all just feeling good, y'all going Sunday, hallelujah, you come out Monday still poor. I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, love y'all. Love y'all for real. Peace and blessings. Have a great night.